Hello, everyone. Happy to have you here today, especially on the Monday after a break, right? Like that is an especially hard day to be focused on learning new things. So I'm happy to have you here and happy to talk about Book Creator. And we'll have a few friends perhaps joining us, but I did put in the chat for you the link to the slide deck that I'll be using here today. So that is in the chat for you. And if you are watching this via video, I have a bit.ly address here for you. So all you have to do is to type this part right here up into your address bar and it will take you to this slide deck. Now you do need to make sure that you have, it is case sensitive. So if it is a capital letter here, you need to make sure that you capitalize it. So it is BSD, Beaverton School District, Book Creator, intro. That is the link that will get you to these slides. So again, if you're watching this via video, happy to have you here. Happy to have those of you here in person as well. I'm talking Book Creator today, and this is one of our short and sweet sessions, which means that it's only 30 minutes. So I try to pack as much into this 30 minutes as we possibly can. But I'm excited to talk Book Creator because I work with a lot of different digital tools on our digital curriculum team. And I happen to think Book Creator is one of our most fabulous products. And it can for sure be used pre-K all the way through high school and beyond high school. It is simply a way to do some digital book creation. And I love that. There's a whole lot of student creativity involved in Book Creator. So if you are joining us today, we're going to be talking specifically about teaching templates and how to get those to your students to do digital journals and those kinds of things. So let's see here, hopping and say who I am. And nice to meet you. My name is Carrie Kunert, and I'm a member of our digital curriculum team. I have taught elementary school for 20 plus years, and now I work in helping with digital tools. Some of the ones that I help with are on this slide, but there's many others. And Book Creator, I tell you, it's one of my most favorite things. Now, this slide deck that I shared with you is used for more than just this session. So there are resources there. I taught a session this morning on accessibility tools, which Book Creator, again, is just exceptional for those. So there are a number of resources on here. And I'm actually going to move to slide number 4. I'm going to move to slide number 4, and this is a Book Creator book. I just put an image of it here. And if you click on it, there's a link below that will take you to the published digital book version of it. Now, this is a lady who works for Book Creator that has created this book. Catherine has created this to share with us. And I'm just going to scroll in here a little bit. It's showing you some of the things you can do with Book Creator, which we're not really talking about how to just make a book today. Those are other sessions you can find recorded, but all kinds of student examples are in here. It's the teacher creation pages that I want to reference today. And the teacher creation idea behind this is that you create some sort of a template, you push it out to your students in Book Creator, and then you are able to have them complete their work and you're able to see their in-process work, and then they can turn that in. Now, you've been able to do that in Canvas a little bit. Sometimes you have to share, like you create something in Google and you share the link and then you can access the students' work. This is just a whole lot slicker with a whole lot more creative abilities. So I'm going to open up one here. There is an example of a reading notebook. So essentially, this teacher has created, and I'm going to read it. A teacher has created a book, and then you can learn how to do that, how to actually create it in some of our other videos. They've created this book, and then they're going to push it out to each of their students so they each get a copy. So here is a digital reading notebook. So the teacher has it already set up for what they want the students to do in this digital space, right? So books they've read this year, books they want to read this year. She has a mini lesson where she's pushed out a mini lesson with a video that she wants the students to do. Again, right? So this is all scripted for information, like in terms of a textbook. And here's a reading response. As you're reading today, I want you to do this. And then there's a space in which to do it. Select a reading response, use that tool, right? So these are all things that you want the students to do in this digital journal space. So I put it here as an example. I put a number of examples. And again, in 30 minutes, I'm not going to have time to go over all of them, but that's kind of the idea, that the teacher creates some kind of here's a pre-writing template that a teacher has set up to organize for students. There's also another page full of examples, okay, ideas. Here is your reading notebook, okay, your digital storyboard. We're going to write a compare and contrast piece. The teacher has gone ahead and set up, this is an entire school district, has set up their book. Now, each student is going to get their own copy of this, and each student will go in here and be able to add in and edit all of the fields in here once they make their own copy of it. So you kind of get the idea here. Here's, I want you to use a picture and tell us your story right there next to it. Differences and similarities. They're learning how to compare and contrast with this example. So that is the concept of what we're going to be talking about today. And there are a number of more examples you can find on Book Creator's website. They have all kinds of examples on there that you can see. I'm going to ask us to, you can either just watch along with me, or if you'd like to go ahead and log in with me as well, we're going to go onto app.bookcreator.com. You can also access it through Clever if you would prefer to access that way. So you can access through here, and when you're logging in, make sure that you are on the blue screen. The blue screen is for a teacher login, and you can sign in with Google. So you have two different ways to get logged in. So whichever way works best for you, we're going to go ahead and get you logged in. And I'm going to get myself logged in as well. So I am logged into Book Creator now. And essentially what I have up here at the top, these are libraries that I have created. So as I have in our district, we have the purchased version of Book Creator this year, and we really had to work hard to get that put into the budget. So I'm hoping we use it a ton and can easily get it put in next year's budget based upon usage. So you'll see right here that I'm allowed to create 1,000 books. I currently have 49 books out of my 1,000 books created. You do have the ability to archive some, so it doesn't get rid of it forever, but it takes it out of your current in-use book limit if you had tons of books happening with tons of different students. So that's how you can see that right there. On the bottom, these are libraries that have been shared with me by other people. So I did not create them, but they have been shared with me. So if you are logged in here into Book Creator, you're going to go down to your shared with me section, and you're going to click to join a library. Now, if you are the teacher, you're going to be sharing a code with your students to have them join your library. So you'll notice up here, I have created a new library, and I did that just by touching this new library. And I have actually grabbed one of the books that we had as one of the example books. I just grabbed this book that a teacher already made called Rocks and Minerals. Okay, so there is a template that I am going to share with you. And I have my standards for this unit, my learning objectives. We're going to be looking at some of our vocabulary and standards here. And then there are all kinds of different interactive pages. So there are places in which we want students to answer questions, okay? There are all kinds of things this teacher has set up. There's a video that they want their students to watch. There are drag and drop kinds of activities where they want to make sure students know vocabulary, right? And I have my own version so I can answer that separately. Vocabulary words to define, just showing you examples of the ideas. Here's information about the layers of Earth, and they've put resources and videos for me, almost like a textbook, like an interactive textbook. Why does the Earth have layers? I put my thoughts there. So just giving you an idea. This is a massive one, but visuals, right? I could create a Venn diagram or something to engage with. They gave me a link to a video, web page. And then I come here and I answer some of the questions based on that information. So questions, all kinds of different things, but you get the idea, right? So I'm going to go back to my library here. So if I am the class teacher, which I am momentarily, if I want you to be able to hop in this library, right above here, it gives me an invite code. If I share this invite code with you, and I'll put it in the chat, It is also in our directions, so I'll stick it there for you. If you have that invite code, and on slide 6, I've given you these directions. You're going to log into Book Creator. You're going to touch that Join a Library button. You're going to enter this code, and that will get you into our library. So I'm going to hop back into this one right here. Once you get in and you can see my copy that says teacher copy of Unit 4 with my name on it, you're going to go down here to this little book options. You're going to click on this little stack of books, and then you're going to make a copy of my book. So as soon as you touch copy book, it's going to create a second book. And I will do that just so we can get an example here. Class template. Okay, there we go. So it created for me a copy of this exact book, and it's working on it. Now, instead of it saying teacher copy down here, I would prefer it to say the student's name. So I'm going to pretend it is my version. So this is Carrie K's version of Unit 4 Rocks and Minerals. So if you are playing along at home, you are welcome to add your own copy of this book in there for Rocks and Minerals. So now you have your own version. It has your name at the bottom, and you now have the ability to edit your own copy of that. So once we touch edit, obviously there's a space here to put your name. You'll notice the teacher who's created this has kind of locked some things so students can't manipulate all the things, but I can always add on top of that. So in Book Creator, if you want to add anything, there is a plus sign. So I'm going to add into here, I'm going to text my name. See, I get to pick, I'm just going to type in my name. So this is Carrie's version, done. It puts my name here in a text box that I can manipulate and put near the line where I want it to be. Now, anytime something has its, I'm going to call it its handles, these little blue marks, you notice when I click out of it, it doesn't have his handles. When I click on him, he does. I can go up to this inspector tool, which is I right here. I is for inspector. Whatever I have the handles on, when I touch inspector, then I can manipulate this. So I touch there, and then I could change. If I wanted to change the size of the font, I could change the color of the font. I can do all kinds of things in there when I'm inside of the inspector window. Okay. All right, so wanted to make sure that you saw that, and I could put my class period or whatever. I'm going to go back to the teacher view here. And now when I'm looking at a glance, I'm able to see this is Carrie's version of this unit. So if I want to assess and see how Carrie is doing on her Rocks and Minerals unit, I can hop into her book and I can see the progress that she's made. I could look at a certain page. I can see if she broke down this learning target beautifully for me or whatever it is that I'm asking her to do. I get to see a copy of her book. And in this little class library, I get to see everyone's book that everyone has done up here, which is pretty super cool. So I have access to be an editor in her book. Now, one of the other cool things I can do is I can go up to the library settings up here, and I could, let's pretend all students had written a beautiful story or something. I could choose to publish if I wanted to. Now, I probably wouldn't publish their digital journals, but I certainly could. I can choose what I want that library to look like. I could choose the color scheme for it. I can give permissions. I could explain to our families if we were sharing a story or whatever, I could give description for what that piece is, who has permission, people with the link outside of Beaverton, inside of Beaverton, what subject it is, what grade it is, and then I could actually publish this library if I wanted to. So that is super cool. Then you could actually share it with your families. Now, sometimes with a digital journal, that doesn't really make sense to do with this project, but perhaps it does. Perhaps there's something that you want to make sure that families have access to so they can see all of the books that are created in your specific library. So that is one way in which to do that. And you can see I did this just recently with another group, and all the students in here created all of their versions of something that I asked them to do. So again, as the teacher, I can see the progress of each of my students. Now, I know that one issue perhaps is that when students hop in there, they can see each other's books. And sometimes you can mess around with the settings up in here on whether or not I can allow you to read each other's books. So I could toggle that off if I only want you to be able to see your own book. Um, Enabling collaboration, that means you can allow someone else to work with you on a book. I could choose to toggle that off and make sure everybody had their own independent book. I can also remove the ability for you to be able to publish your own book. And that makes sense whether or not I want to do it on this specific project or not. So I can choose whether you're allowed to search for images, and I would, it is actually already, there's some nanny filters on there to hopefully make sure all the images are appropriate, and they are already with the appropriate settings so that you have proper permission to utilize the pictures through Pixabay. So that's pretty cool. And yes, I do want you to be able to edit your own version of the book. So you can go up and change the library settings that was under this little cog up here on the right. So everyone has their own little copy. You're working on it. I can see whatever it is that you're doing in there. Now, one thing that's kind of cool in my teacher master here, if for some reason I'm going to go in and edit my teacher master, and I'm going to go to pages here. And let's see here. Oh goodness, this is such a giant book. It is a giant book. Those are all the pages. You could rearrange the pages in here. They have all kinds of interactive things. I could go in here and mess with my teacher example, but once somebody has made a copy of it, it's not really, you're not going to be able to affect their version of it. So you have to be careful with that. So let's see here. I want to get to the end of this book. Let me get to the end of this book. Of course, I chose an example that is gimundous. Once you're at the end of a book here, I could add a new page. So let's pretend for some reason I'm doing this digital journal and I want all my students to have a new page. I want to add some content to it. So I am going to just quickly, just for the sake of going fast, I'm going to say this is a new page. Okay, so as a teacher, I have created this new page, and this has super important content that I want to make sure everybody in my class gets. Then I could go ahead back to my pages here, and I could select. I'm going to go up here to select, and I am going to choose the page I want. Let's see here. I'm going to choose this page. I want to take this page and I want to copy it to all of my students' books. So I'm going to choose this library that we're in, and we would have everybody in the class there, right? If you had all created a book in there, I could choose just to give it to Carrie, right? I'm just going to give Carrie that page, or I'm going to give that page to every student who's in this class. If I click copy that new information, then that new information will then be added. You'll notice I added it to this book as well, which I didn't really need to do, but that page can be added. So you don't necessarily, like this incredible teacher who had the whole unit ready to go, you could spontaneously create a page and then you would hit select again. So once I created a page, I selected it. And then I sent that to my students by copy to, and you chose where you wanted to send it. So that I think is a super nice feature. Again, like, oh shoot, I wish I would have given them this. You can certainly do that. Now, we did have some teachers who didn't want the ability to see others, or they were worried about other kids and creating theirs. One of the things you can do is you can just create a blank, you can create a new library. In this new library, I'm going to call it sample library. And again, I want you to not be able to see each other's books, not collaborate. All right, beautiful. I've created that library. So there are no books in here. I can share the invite code. Everybody could join that library. I could make you create your own book, okay? A new book. So always when you get this invite code or just to play around, you have the ability to do a new book. So if I give you the ability to do a new book, then the kids would be able to have more choice in that, right? I would say, okay, everybody create a journal. I want everybody to pick. If you're going to be inserting pages for them, you probably want to make sure they have the same orientation, right? Because you're creating square pages and they have a portrait, it's not going to go in as beautifully. So you would tell them, I want you to create a square I always choose to do this bottom level because it gives you more options. These are just blank books. These are blank books as well, but they have more choice in there in terms of some of the comic features. Up to you whether you want them to have that or not, but I like those creativity features. So the kids could create their own book. You could tell them to design their own cover for their story, whatever. And then you would be able to add to that book, you'd be able to push in pages that you wanted into their book. So maybe it's a rubric, right? Maybe they've all written stories and they all have their stories in here. And then you want to add some sort of a scoring guide or a rubric or some self-evaluative piece at the end of their stories. You would wait till they had written theirs and you could push it out the way I just showed you. It goes to the back of all of theirs and they could fill out that reflective piece at the end of their story. Okay, that was a lot of information I just threw at you. And on here, one of the things that's pretty cool is under Discover. So I was under libraries and those are my books that I'm dealing with. They're also Discover, and under Discover, they have example books down here. So there are tons of example in different levels of books. There's different, all different kinds of like subjects. You want to look at books in specific math or all kinds of things there in there. There is also a place where you can learn. You want to know some things like, oh, Carrie said something about accessibility earlier. I want to know more about that. There you go. There's a whole section that you can read all about the accessibility tools. There's webinars. There's all kinds of stuff in there. So there's more information. There is a certification program if you want to become a book creator certified author, and you take these are little lessons, right? How the pen tool works. It's only 7 minutes long. How you work with text, that's 7 minutes long. You do these little activities and take a quick little quiz at the end, and you kind of learn all the features of Book Creator in a nice self-paced little way. So that's pretty cool. And they've also added apps recently. So you can add some of these tools and functionality to your Book Creator books. And you can toggle these on or off. Do you want kids to be able to use emojis? I can turn that off. I can disable that. So my students are now not able to utilize that thing. So you can mess around here and decide, yes, I want them to add things from their Google Drive and I want maps. The ability to add maps is really pretty cool. And you can just toggle it on whether you want them to enable and be able to use that. You can also choose which one of your libraries. So you can say, you know what, in the emojis, yes, this small moment book, yes, we'll use emojis in that specific library. It doesn't have to be universal across all the libraries. You can decide what works best for you. So my goodness, let's see here. Let me hop back to my actual slides that I started with you. And again, there is more here in this slide deck than we're talking about in this short and sweet session, just about templates. But there are, other uses for Book Creator, like and all of these are hot linked. So if you click on any of these, you can go read and look at that kind of book. I'm using them as a textbook for students, just the information is there, or an interactive textbook, a well-being journal, a digital portfolio of their work, a newsletter could be done in there and published. This one's pretty cool. It's an interactive read aloud where the text is in there, but there are also opportunities for the students to engage, to give their opinion, to the great part about Book Creator is that when you do, I could do a video or audio. It can be voice to text and other things I talked about in my other session. But there are all kinds of ways for students to be able to interact. They can write, as in using a pen tool. They can type. They can be, anyway, all kinds of stuff. Here are some of the things students can do in Book Creator. So I tell you, there's like, can't possibly cover them all right now. How to go about sharing libraries. So I've given you information, and anything that's in this blue underlined text, I've gone ahead and put a video or reference information that I've curated and looked through and make sure it's legitimate and it's good resources there for you. I talked about accessibility features, so that information is there. How to use it for differentiated learning, right? Like this is cool. Slide 12 is a student telling you how to use Book Creator. So it's kind of nice to be able to hear maybe another voice besides yours. And the student's like, hey, when you touch this button, it does this. When you touch this, it just kind of gives a quick baseline in a video for how to utilize it. Some ideas at each level. Use some pre-KK ideas, elementary, middle, and high school ideas. There's a new thing in Book Creator where you can remix someone else's book. So there is a little button in the corner that says whether it is a remixable book or not. So this one is not. It does not have a little button there that says remixable. If it's a remixable book, you can just grab it and you can go ahead and manipulate it. This is hot linked for you. So if you click here, there are a number of remixable books that someone has already created that you can just kind of use as a template and change up and make it your own, which I always think is nice and helpful to do. There's some digital citizenship books on there. I already talked about the certification course. We have some in-house resources in our digital backpack. We've curated some helpful getting started with Book Creator resources. So that is there for you. They have webinars, and my gosh, I feel like I should work for this company maybe someday because I think they're just awesome. I really, really do. And then before we wrap up here, I'm happy to answer questions, but I wanted to make sure that you also make sure to record your attendance in KickUp. So you have to be in your staff bookmarks, logged into KickUp. So you got to get logged in first. And at the top, it's going to say, give you this green button that says you want to confirm your attendance. When you click that, it's going to ask for a code. And for this session, if you are watching on video or in person here, that is the code. So make sure that you have this 2YSXH4. You put that in here in KickUp and it will register that you did attend this session, and then make sure that you have your PDUs and whatever. Okay, wow, that was a lot of information, short and sweet-ish, yeah. So hopefully you learned some new things about Book Creator and the ability to have that connection for students to be able to easily hop in, they can publish their work and you can see what they're doing, right? So the fact that I can access all of your work, I can hop into this journal and I can see how you're all doing. Oh, one other really quick, fast thing to show you is that I can also, if I have asked you, I'm going to delete that really fast. If all of you have your beautiful stories or whatever, I can very easily in this same library go down to this little stack of books and I could choose to combine these books together. So if I were creating a class composite book or something, and I'm going to just grab a few stories to get the idea, right? I'm grabbing some students' work and I am going to put that into a book, and this is going to be our class book. I choose obviously probably the whole class there. I'm going to create this book and it creates a book compiled of all of these little books. We used this a ton when we were trying to save space before we purchased Book Creator, and they only gave you 40 books, but now we have 1,000, so it's much better. But you'll notice it's still working here. It is combining all of those student books into one class book, which I have the ability to edit. So I could choose to make a much more exciting cover than this, which I likely would, but then we go into every student's work, right? So then I can see how every student did this activity that I asked them to do. So could be stories, could be get to know you. I did see one staff who did like an interactive get to know the staff at our school, and there were just pages. So every teacher created their own little pages. All you do is invite them to a big library. Everyone creates their pages, compile that thing up, and we have a nice ready to go introductory meet our teachers to send out a back to school night, or the beginning of the school year. Here's some information on all of our teachers or whatever it is. Every class could create a page about something, or every student could create a class book. And once that's done, then you have all kinds of options for how to go about sharing that with other people. It can be published, that can be shared with people that don't even have to have a Book Creator account or whatever. So I see a question from Cindy. Yes, there are templates. There are templates on Book Creator proper. Let's see here. I have it in the slide deck. There are under, where is it? Remixable books. There are remixable books right here. So slide number 14, if you click right here on the top, you can go right to Book Creators remixable books that they have shared with people. And I also have other great examples on slide 4, where you can click this book, which is a person from Book Creator created this, and she has a whole bunch of just examples. So it's under the teacher creation pages, and there are just some ideas to hopefully inspire, right? On here. So you can grab one of these. I'm going to read it right here. Okay, this one has the remix. So if I grab this, I can remix this. Means I can make this my own. I can remove her Bitmoji. She's kind of given like editing access, like permission for us to modify it to be our own. So here's her idea there. Yeah. So anyway, I'm like drinking the Kool-Aid. I think Book Creator is incredible, and it has so very much potential to be used every subject area, every grade. Absolutely convinced. And that is the end of our short and sweet time. So I want to thank you for being here either via video or here in person. And hopefully you learned something new about Book Creator. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for being here.